All right, let's get right into it. We're going to tell a story about something you literally use every single day. And then, we're going to use that story to unpack this huge challenge that businesses are running into right now with AI. It all kicks off with one simple question.
Now really, just stop for a second and think about that. A world with no Wi-Fi. You couldn't just connect your laptop at a coffee shop. No streaming movies on your tablet from the couch. It sounds kind of impossible, doesn't it?
And that's not me being dramatic. The wireless tech that we just take for granted was right on the edge of being one of those amazing ideas that was completely useless. And to get why, we've got to travel back to the 90s.
Okay, so welcome to the absolute wild west of wireless. The basic technology to send data through the air, it was there, but it was just trapped in this state of total, utter chaos.
See, you had all these brilliant companies, NCR, Symbol, Proxime, and they were all building their own incredible wireless systems. The problem? Not a single one of them could talk to each other. It's like they all had their own secret language. They had proprietary standards, their own unique frequencies, totally different security methods. It was like if everyone invented a telephone, but each phone could only call itself. Revolutionary, yeah, but totally unusable. And this is what that actually looked like. You could have your shiny new NCR laptop with its fancy wireless card, but if you walked into a building with a Symbol access point, you got nothing. Connection failed. All this progress was happening, but it wasn't actually leading anywhere. The invisible signal was just noise, until somebody did something kind of radical.
So instead of trying to build a better, faster, stronger individual gadget, a group decided to build something way more powerful, a shared set of rules for everybody.
The hero of this story isn't some lone inventor in a garage. It's an organization, the IEEE. They stepped right into the middle of all that chaos and created a universal standard. They called it 802.11. And this wasn't a new product, it was a common language that every single product could finally speak.
And what's so fascinating is what this standard actually laid out. It wasn't telling companies how to build their gear. Nope, it was about creating a rulebook for how that gear should talk to each other. It set the rules for everything. Frequency bands, data rates, security handshakes, all the stuff you need for different devices to basically trust each other and connect without a hitch.
So here is the absolute key takeaway. Wi-Fi didn't win because someone invented some superior piece of tech. It won because everyone agreed to play by the same rules, to use a shared structure. That standard is what turned a bunch of isolated inventions into the invisible backbone of our modern world. And that leads us to a really powerful idea.
This quote just nails it, right? You can have all the innovation in the world, but if you don't have a shared structure to make sense of it all, it's just noise. It just looks like progress. So let's take that idea and see how this exact same problem is playing out right now, in a totally different field.
So, we've gone from the chaos of wireless signals to the chaos of information. You've got businesses everywhere publishing content, sharing what they know, and desperately trying to get noticed by AI systems. But for most of them, it's just not working. To the AI, they're basically invisible.
And here is the fundamental truth you have got to understand. You might have the most brilliant ideas, the most creative articles, the most innovative expertise, but AI systems like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, they don't really care. They're built to be parsers, not interpreters. That just means they look for predictable patterns in data, not for some deep hidden meaning. They are hunting for structure.
You can think about this in two ways. Most businesses are playing in what we'll call domain B. They're focused on storytelling, creativity, being original. But AI systems, they are built to trust and pull information from domain A, the world of clearly defined data, consistent frameworks, and verifiable facts. If all your stuff is just in domain B, the AI can't reliably figure out who you are or whether to trust you.
Okay, so if AI is all about structure, what does that actually look like? What is it scanning for when it tries to make sense of your business and what you do? It's looking for these specific signals. Does your business have crystal clear definitions for what it does? Do you have actual named frameworks for your processes? Are you using schema, which is basically a behind-the-scenes vocabulary for search engines, to classify yourself? Is your language consistent everywhere you show up? Bottom line, can your identity be proven through a clear, authoritative structure? If the answer is no, you're invisible. So just like the IEEE created the 802.11 standard to bring order to all that wireless chaos, There's now a way to engineer clarity for the age of AI. It's really the modern-day equivalent of creating that shared, readable signal so you can finally be seen. And the core concept here is called structural clarity. Okay, let's break that down. It's just the process of organizing your business's identity in a way that machines can actually read and understand. It's about using consistent frameworks, defined terms, and special code, called schema, so that an AI can understand who you are, what you do, and why you're important, without having to guess or worse, getting it wrong. And you do this with a simple framework. At the very bottom, the foundation, is definition. You have to create clear, citable definitions for what you actually do. The middle layer is standards. That's where you connect those definitions into named frameworks and you start using the same language everywhere. And then at the top, you have recognition. Once you're defined and standardized, you reinforce that identity across the board. This consistent signal builds something called machine trust, which is just the AI's confidence that you are exactly who you say you are.
Right, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually do it? Let's turn this whole idea into a clear, actionable playbook that you can actually use.
Here are 4 concrete steps you can take. First, define your core terms. I mean, literally, write out clear definitions for what you do and put them on your website so AI answer engines can find and cite them easily. Second, standardize your frameworks. Give your unique methods and processes official names, and then use those names consistently, everywhere. Third, deploy schema. This is just some code that you add to the back end of your website. Think of it like a universal translator that tells AI exactly what your business, your services, and your people are. And finally, step 4, reinforce through repetition. Publish these exact same definitions and frameworks on all your platforms. That repetition creates a super powerful, unified signal that's impossible to ignore.
So we'll end with this question. Just like in the early days of wireless, the technology for connection is everywhere. But real connection requires a clear, structured signal. So you have to ask yourself, is your business speaking a language that only humans can understand, or have you built the structure for machines to understand you too? Because in the age of AI, the answer to that question, well, that's what's going to determine your visibility.